We've talked about the housing market and how expensive it's become to own a home. And while a little more than 60% of Rhode Islanders are homeowners, we wanted to take a deeper dive to understand just how difficult it is to find an affordable apartment.
It's rough out there for
Timmy Burns moved back to Rhode Island in December. Hopping from home to home of different family members, he says things turned a little sour.
And then when I got a girlfriend, it exasperated my living situation with my stepdad. And then me and her ended up in a hotel.
But while living in a hotel for months, he says he had to make some tough decisions.
I needed shoes for 7 months, and 20 bucks on shoes when we were homeless living in a hotel was unthinkable. I really had to make a choice between, do I want to eat? Do I want shoes that are going to keep my feet warm?
Working full-time and making minimum wage, Burns spent 9 months looking for a place to live because he says there just aren't any apartments out there.
Right now, supply is here and demand is way up here, and so it's this gap that is impossible to fill.
When it comes to available apartments to rent, Melina Lodge, Executive Director of Housing Network of Rhode Island, says the state's supply falls well below the national average.
Rhode Island has maybe the lowest, if not close to the lowest, vacancy rate in the country.
Data just released by Housing Works RI shows 79% of the state's rental stock was built prior to 1980.
Rhode Island has one of the oldest housing stocks in the country, and particularly our rental housing stock.
Brenda Clement, Director of Housing Works RI, says the age of the units raises health concerns.
You've got lots of issues with lead and asbestos and other challenges that impact the health and condition of not only the people who live in it, but everybody in the neighborhood and the community.
And Clement says trying to address all of those issues can be expensive. In addition to the low supply, data shows the cost to rent an apartment in Rhode Island is high. Rhode Island ranks 17th in the nation when it comes to highest housing wage. That's according to data from the National Low-Income Housing Coalition.
In Rhode Island, well over a third of Rhode Islanders are considered cost burden, and you're considered cost burden if you spend more than a third of your income towards housing.
Let's take a look at the current data to understand just how expensive it is to rent a 2-bedroom apartment in Rhode Island. NLIHC data shows the fair market rent for a 2-bedroom apartment in the state is nearly $1,200. To be able to afford this rent without paying more than 30% of earnings on housing, the annual household income needs to be more than $46,000, which means you need to make almost $23 an hour for it to be affordable. Currently, the state's minimum wage is $11.50 an hour, and based on that, the figures show someone making minimum wage would need to work 78 hours a week to be able to afford a 2-bedroom apartment at the fair market rent. NLIHC's Out of Reach 2021 report found a full-time minimum wage worker can't afford to rent a, quote, modest 2-bedroom anywhere in the country. Let's break that down even further, adding in the cost of other living expenses. The latest Consumer Price Index data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics shows from September 2020 to September 2021, the cost of everything went up by 5.4%. Grocery prices went up by 4.5%. Electricity, well, that's gone up by 5.2%. And utilities like piped gas service is up by nearly 21%.
When you couple all of the things that support a family together, and all of them are rising at the same time, but income is still staying pretty stagnant, it's like no, you can't win that equation at all.
When we look at data from 2020, it shows only one community in the state was affordable for renters when it comes to the average cost of a 2-bedroom apartment and household renter median income, and that's Burrillville. Still, that's better than 2019, when, based on the same data, no area in the state was affordable to rent in. The pandemic created more hardship when thousands of Rhode Islanders lost their jobs and struggled to pay rent. The program Rent Relief RI was created to help keep those people in their homes. As of October 27th, data from the program shows more than 6,400 applications have been approved, and so far totaling more than $48 million of the $200 million available. Although there were several hiccups along the way, Lodge says the program is now more crucial than ever with the current housing status.
If somebody is housed, we don't have a good contingency plan on where they could go next. So it is really critical that if they have a housing unit, that we work with them and the landlord to make sure that we're able to keep that family in it.
Lodge says Rhode Island is headed in the right direction thanks to local and national efforts, but she believes more needs to be done, and it's going to take a while to get the state where it needs to be. Burns has since found an apartment, but says that's because his girlfriend knows their landlord. He tells me if they didn't move in when they did, they would likely be living out of their car. Gina Marini, 12 News.